The Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm not centered rightly. We got the StreamYard going, right? JT's trying to get his connection fixed. Simon, the producer, his internet is out. We got G Ryzen. He is hosting and producing. We'll go to G Ryzen, the host first, or not the host, the producer. How's it going over there, G Ryzen?
It's not too bad. Simon chimed in and said he had a little power issue, and was glad to help out and get us up and going here and be able to get the show out for the people. But we got a pretty good slate up here today, 14 games. I'm interested to hear what you guys got to say about everything.
Yep, it's definitely a fun one. We got the live final, the FanDuel one this weekend. So Big T's there, Hoop. We got the guys. They'll be representing. I know Glock is there too. Glaucoma, he's a Discord chatter. We got a bunch of other guys. He's a member. So I'm sure there's a ton of other options here at Run Pure Sports that are going to be trying to take that thing down. But obviously, we're rooting on everyone. Obviously, it'd be fun to see Big T and Hoop at the top, but as long as it's a Run Pure Sports member, right? As long as we see that avatar, we're very happy. So get that avatar on your FanDuel or DraftKings profile and get to the top of the leaderboard. Let's go over to JT Hayes. Hopefully the internet is acting pretty appropriately now, JT. We also got the Bang Bang plays today. I watched the video. You talked about Walker Buehler. You talked about the Dodgers. You got your Dodgers shirt on now. JT, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. The StreamYard just it destroys my computer for some reason. So I've shut every window down, and it looks like I'm good to go here. But I did the Bang Bang Plays video this morning, and I felt good at that moment about Walker Buehler and Blake Snell. I still feel great about my offenses, but I'm moving around on pitching. You guys were talking about it before we came on here about how some of these matchups are a little bit perhaps more concerning at first glance. And then me personally, I don't know if you guys have the DK Live app on your phone, but it allows you to keep track with fantasy scoring as the night goes on DraftKings. And they're like the kiss of death. When they recommend a player, a pitcher, a golfer, whatever it is, it should be an auto fade. So just to give you examples, yesterday they liked Zach Wheeler. The day before they liked Tyler Mahle. Last week they liked Luis Castillo in Cleveland. And today they're making the case for a couple of guys. One of them is my guy, Walker Buehler. And the other guy is Max Fried, which makes me a little bit more interested in the Orioles. So we'll talk through all of that, but an interesting 14-game slate today.
Yeah, you also have that really bad Atlanta bullpen, which, hey, listen, we'll get to the baseball, but JT, let's talk about your weekend, right? What is on the schedule this weekend for JT Hayes? I mean, it's winding down, right? So we'll have fall coming soon where there'll be football. How are you spending it? You're going to be watching the telescope, going a little stargazing. Will you be slamming down some beers? What's on the agenda for JT Hayes this weekend?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, it rained all week here. Finally, we got a break in the weather, and so I got a game tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, I'll be playing baseball. That's always a lot of fun. It's usually a lot of fun, I should say, but I'll be doing that. And then tomorrow night, the wife and I are planning to go to dinner. Our anniversary was last week, and we had some family obligations. Actually, her birthday was last week. We had some family obligations, so got to go to a nice steak dinner tomorrow night, and then Sunday morning, I'll be on the show with G Ryzen over here. So some work, some play. It'll be a lot of fun. That's what I expect. And by the way, for the YouTube chatters, I can't see any of your comments. I have to run and go get my iPad to put the YouTube channel on. So there's no interaction right now, and it feels good.
All right, well, JT, if you want to go get the iPad, run and go get it. Now's the perfect time as I can transition and talk to G Ryzen. And while you're doing that, right, go grab the iPad, hit the like, right, hit the subscribe on the video. That helps us out a ton. We'll go over to G Ryzen. I want to talk to you and find out what you're doing this weekend. Are you on the night watch with the the neighborhood crew? Are you going to the mall and closing your eyes? What's the plan this weekend? Throwing back Modelo's? What you doing, G Ryzen?
Well, considering that I spent a bunch of money trying to qualify for that stinking FanDuel queue, and all the boys are out there having a good time, and I'm stuck back here at the ranch covering all these shows for everybody, So, it's all good. It's good mojo. We're going to sit back. We're going to cover for them guys. Their guys are going to bring the belt back, and we're going to break down some slates and pick some winners. So, basically, I don't have too many big plans. Next week I have a family wedding, but I think this weekend I'm just going to sit around the house, drink some Modelo's, have some safety meetings, and pick some winners. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that sounds similar to my weekend. I'm just going to watch some sports, right? I'm going to do some work, right? And then we're going to drink a little bit, right? Eat some good food, have a good time. It's going to be a fun weekend, especially with all the sports that we have going on, right? We got MMA, we got tennis, we have it all. If you want the esports, the League of Legends, we got it. We can give you it over here at Run Pure Sports. And we got football coming up. College football will be starting up next weekend. So use that code RPS NFL 15 to get 15% off your monthly lifetime payment. So that's something you just got to get in on. JT, why else should the people come over and sign up at Run Pure Sports?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned a couple of good reasons, but the Discord, the Discord's going 24/7. We've got playbooks and core plays and bang bang plays. Bang bang plays aren't going to stop, by the way. It looked like we were maybe going to do it just for baseball, but no, we're going to continue this into the NFL, and they've been pretty good. Last week, I gave you on, I think it was Sunday night, my Sunday night, which isn't a bang bang, it's on the Mayo Media Network, but gave out Wade Miley and Gosman and then the Rockies and the Reds, and that was what won everything on Monday night. So they've been pretty good, and obviously our free and premium content. We've got the countdown show that comes on after this at 6 o'clock. And then for NFL, we're going to have at least one show every single day of the week. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to get to be on some of those. I think right now, tentatively slated for maybe something on Saturday afternoon. So it's good stuff.
Yep, it's awesome stuff over here at Run Pure Sports. You talk about the Final Countdown show. G. Risen, I got to ask you the question because I was confused and I want to know is now that Simon might not be doing the later show, is that a free show? Is the Final Countdown show free? Is it behind the paywall? I thought I saw it on the YouTube channel. What's the word on that one, G. Risen?
I cannot quite answer that. I do know, though, when I set it up, I did set it up as a private show, so at Simon's direction. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but maybe if we get enough likes in the show, us three can maybe talk to Simon and see if we can maybe turn that into a free show tonight. But that's not my call. I'm too far down on the payroll to make a call like that.
Listen, I'm not going to say there's a certain number to make that happen, right? But if we make the likes happen to a number that is something that we enjoy or we appreciate, right? Maybe we'll do it. I'm not going to say we will. We'll have to see. But we will probably hold the place hostage. Let's wait a little bit, though, right? Let's let the people file in. Excited to break this thing down.
I disagree. I think you got to give a number. I think you have to give a number, and you have to hold people accountable. I already see, now that I've got the iPad up, I see that people are talking shit. I see my guys Drew and Squid talking about the shine. It's actually, it's not hurtful. It's not hurtful. I expect better of you. That's fine. But listen, we got 185 people watching, a hurtful number of likes, 75. Are your fucking fingers broken? Hit the like button. Otherwise, we're not giving out any plays. I think we're going to get up to about 250 watching, right? I think we got to go with at least, we got 185 watching now, 185 likes.
All right. Yeah, we're going to get more. I'm confident. Again, it's a nice Friday. We got some baseball going on. Excited to dive in and talk about it with you guys. We'll go over to you, G. Risen. Let's kick it off and start talking about the pitcher position. We were talking before we got on here. There's a lot of names on this slate, right? There's a lot of pitching names that, like, if you're not like a hardcore baseball watcher, right, you see it and you're like, oh, wow, we got all these aces on the mound, right? Bueller, Sale, Ray, Giolito. There's so many guys, right? Snell, McCullers, there's all these names, even Sonny Gray. But I don't know. I'm not like in love with some of these pitchers. I think that at the top, yes, I can agree. Walker Bueller against the Mets is definitely solid. Chris Sale could have a great outing, but if you scroll down to the bottom, right, there are some bad pitchers on this slate, and there's some big boy offenses, right? We have a ton of implied totals above 6, and it's the summer. Bats matter, and sure, I think some of these top-end arms are good, but I think I want to prioritize the bats today. How about you, G. Risen? How are you handling the pitcher position?
Yeah, generally, I was building some teams today, and I was actually just building some stacks and trying to see what I had left, to see what kind of range I had left for a pitcher. And it was more times than not, I wasn't really happy with what I was coming up with, because I just believe if you get down from the middle down to the bottom, it's just so much of a crapshoot. And then you look at the guys up at the top. There's 2 that I think are in a really good spot, and then the other guys, you can legitimately make an argument on why it's not a good play. So, for me though, I Chris Sale is my favorite play on the slate. I mean, Texas is just god awful. Their WOBA is the worst in baseball against lefties. They can't hit a lefty to save their life. Sale looked like he had some energy last start. To me, he passed the eye test. I think Sale is probably the best start, even more so over Buehler. But I just don't like the price for Buehler. 11.6 on FanDuel seems to be really high. And like you said, we're going to need some bats tonight. And some of these low price stacks, it just didn't look like it had the upside I really like when I was building teams. But there's a few guys below the 10K mark that you might be able to make an argument for, but I really think tonight pitching is it's tough tonight. I think there's some definite landmines there, but I think there's guys that have high upside or that could just blow up in your face. So, but yeah, that's what I was interested to hear what you guys said. I hope you guys can talk me into somebody, but right now for me, it's Sale.
All right, well, I just heard somebody, JT Hayes with the shine on the head. I heard him say, I crushed it with the bang bang plays on Monday with my pitchers. I got this right and this right. So I want to go to you and I want to get the pitching winners. So JT Hayes, who are they, right? What should I do at pitcher today?
Yeah, so earlier today, it was pretty clear to me that the guys in probably the best matchups with the greatest trust, right? The greatest trust that we can put in their stuff for Walker Buehler at the top. And then you mentioned Chris Sale. Chris Sale, I think 9.7K on DraftKings. You guys are both playing on FanDuel. I'm playing on DraftKings. So, Chris Sale at 36% ownership right now on DraftKings for a guy that's making his second start off of a couple of years being on the IL. I think it was Tommy John surgery. That seems to be a lot of public confidence in him. And I agree. There's nothing to hate about the matchup. That's why I said let's go down. Take a look at Blake Snell against the Phillies team that just can't hit anything lately. I mean, they had an absolutely disastrous series in Arizona. Even yesterday against Madison Bumgarner, who a lot of teams have been teeing off on this year. They just, I think they put up one, maybe two runs, and one of those runs was against the bullpen. So with Snell, he's a guy who's been decent recently at home, except for that one start against the Oakland A's. We all know the Phillies are no comparison to that team. But I think you can look around and see that there are some flaws here. For Buehler, he's high priced on DraftKings. You mentioned the pricing of the bats, and we'll get to that in a moment because I have some thoughts on some of these higher price stacks, particularly the Braves. But I think that when you look at Buehler, he just saw this Mets team a week ago and dominated them. They have been every bit as bad on the road as they have been at home. Mentioned on the video today that they finally scored 6 runs for the first time in a month in San Francisco the other day, but they needed 12 innings to do it. So you're not really scared of this Mets offense, but you have other guys on this slate that are much lower cost than Walker Buehler with the same equity. Very few people talking about Robbie Ray in a matchup at home against Detroit. Detroit, yes, has been good against left-handed pitching. They did lose one of their best bats against left-handed pitching in Eric Haas. And, now they play a game yesterday, which was a fantastic game to watch. You had to have some Tigers to win tournaments yesterday afternoon. A game that went into extra innings. They scored 10 or 11 runs. I think it was a 13-10, 13-11 game. I don't expect the same output from the Tigers. And Robbie Ray has been good, but he hasn't had an upside, a ceiling game in a while. So at 9.9, I think Ray is in heavy consideration for me as a pivot from Walker Buehler on DraftKings. I don't particularly love the matchup for Giolito in Tampa Bay. I think he's a fine play if you're playing cash at 9.2, but in tournaments, I think there's a little bit of upside sapped from that matchup. And then you go lower and, Travis, you talked about Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray has been terrible. That's kind of when I like to hop on these pitchers. His price is depressed as a result. 8.4 in a matchup against the Marlins. The Marlins are hit or miss, man. I mean, they do have some young talent in this lineup. It is a good ballpark. Luis Castillo did pitch well against them yesterday. And if you want to go further down, you want to look down. I'm not going to play Dane Dunning against the Red Sox. Dunning has been much better at home than on the road. He also has absolutely no leash. And I think a guy that some people are going to be interested in, I am a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking like 5 to 10% exposure. Austin Gomber is a guy that we were playing early on in every single matchup. He was dominating. He was pitching well, even at Coors. He's missed a little bit of time with an injury. Now he comes off the injury list. He's down under 6K at 5.9 against the Diamondbacks team that's been hitting a little better of late. That's my one concern here is they have gotten healthy. Carson Kelly is back. Christian Walker is back. They're very cheap, but it is their first game at elevation. And I think the Rockies are going to demolish Tyler Gilbert. I think the Rockies are going to easily win this game. So if you wanted to pay all the way down on DraftKings and go to Gomber at 5.9, which you're going to have to do if you want to stack up two of the higher priced offenses, I can't argue against it and say that he may get you 15, 20 points, and that might be enough if your offense goes off.
Yeah, and he is really cheap, right? Obviously, those are some of the cheap pitchers there. JT, I do want to say, so you said the Mets, right? They got 6 runs. I just want to let you know that's because DeSclafani got hurt. They still suck, right? I mean,
absolutely. It's more of a, and we saw this. Unfortunately, there's no comparison data point here between pitchers when you're talking about the Mets, right? Because normally when a pitcher dominates a team and sees them a week later, the team picks something up. They watch video, they're smart about it, and they're able to put the bat on the ball a little more. Maybe they put a few more runs in play. Not saying that the pitcher blows up, but in this instance, we know that the Mets are one of the dumbest franchises in all of professional sports. They're not picking anything up on video. They're not picking up anything anywhere. The team sucks. They lost all their catchers, but he's 10-5, and I think there are other pitchers who can meet what his output is going to be.
Yep, for sure. Let's go on over to G Ryzen. G Ryzen, I guess breakdown. I don't know if maybe you broke it down at the top a little bit after talking to JT a little bit. Who are the guys at the top that I guess you're kind of leaning on? And then I want you to talk about Miles Mikolas a little bit because someone in the chat has mentioned him. He's 6.9 over on FanDuel, has a bit of a pitch count, and he's someone that I think people might consider because speaking of attacking bad and dumb organizations, the Pirates are definitely up there as one of them.
Yeah, up at the top, like I was saying, we were saying earlier, I think Sale for me is going to be my guy. But I think really when you look at the pitching tonight, I think you're going to have 3 guys, and I think the ownership is going to be spread out pretty much between the 3, between Buehler, Sale, and Ray. I think you're going to get maybe between the 3 of them, I think you might end up with 60 to 70% of the pitching ownership actually. But at least on FanDuel, I believe that to be true. I think they're both going to be in the mid 20%. But for me, though, I think it's going to be spread out with a few other guys. But you're talking about Mikolas. I definitely have interest in him at 7K. He's been out for quite a while, just come off the IL. I was digging all around. I could not find anything that said he had any kind of pitch count. So if you could tell me I'm going to get 5 innings out of him, I think I'd have an interest. But I think it's more of a gamble. But I really think if you look down at some of the pitching, I like what JT was saying about Austin Gomber. I really like Gomber in the matchup. I was just trying to look here at that Arizona lineup. It's pretty much right-handed heavy, which you would kind of expect. I actually like the Arizona lineup, to tell you the truth. But Gomber is definitely interesting at 6,800. Like you said, I think we're going to need bats tonight. So, but truly, I can't say that I'm in love with any of these pitchers at that bottom range there that's going to allow me to stack up some of these heavier hitting teams. So I think it's pretty much a gamble and a crapshoot at some of the pitching. I think if you want to go up to Sale, I think you're going to have to, to win a tournament tonight, you might have to land on somebody that's a low-owned stack. That's a cheaper stack, and hopefully you're like a Brave stack or whoever else you're going to have tonight goes off. But that low end of pitching is tough, man. It's some tough sailing waters there, buddy. That's going to be a tough call. But you guys are talking about Gray. I don't mind him. It just seems like he's been getting beat up so bad. I think that's more of a risk and gamble than I think I'm willing to take at this point. Giolito is not really anybody I'm looking to take a stab at. Blake Snell, I don't mind. As you mentioned, Philly's been just not hitting the ball very well, so I'm not really interested there. Maybe an Alex Wood, even possibly in San Fran against Oakland. Maybe I would look at that, but like I said, I think tonight might be a night I usually play 5 teams. I might have 5 different pitchers tonight, and I might shorten my core of hitting and just maybe have 2 or 3 teams and spread them out between my 5 teams, and then just maybe mix up some pitching. Because I think if I'm going to have like a Toronto or an Atlanta, I'm going to have to sacrifice a bat or 2 to be able to get a pitcher I want and maybe go down in the lineup. So But yeah, I think Sale for me, I think Sale could rip off a 60 burger tonight. So that's my fear. I think he looked too good for me last. I mean, he had 8 Ks last game. He just looked like Chris Sale. I mean, I forgot how good Chris Sale was until I started watching that game.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Sale is definitely a different animal, right? JT, I do want to mention though in the chat, right? And I know you are a huge narrative guy, so you are very concerned about Brock Holt in the leadoff spot for some Sale revenge, right? JT Hayes, that's got to be very concerning.
I mean, it just tells you how much Texas cares about winning by starting that game off with a lefty-on-lefty matchup with a guy who is a slap hitter. So the only hope that Holt gets on of getting on base is slapping it the other way and hoping that for some reason Boston puts a shift on for a guy that is probably not going to put the ball in play.
Or they might be hoping Sale beans him in the back.
I will say the one thing with Texas that I don't think everyone has caught on to yet, and I'm pulling it up now the last 30 days, right? The strikeout rate, it definitely has gone down, right? Like it's from what I'm seeing now, and that's including, it's including Brock Holt's number of 0%, but that doesn't matter, obviously, and that's not a real number. But the past couple of days when I've looked, it's been around like 17, 18%. Some of these younger guys they've brought up are not as strikeout heavy. And when you pull up like the bigger sample size and numbers, it's just not the same strikeout heavy Texas lineup. Now this is Chris Sale, right? So it doesn't matter as much. Robbie Ray gets the Tigers, and the Tigers can strike out a ton. So if you're searching for the strikeouts, that's fine. The one reason I liked Sonny Gray, and I was talking him up earlier, is I like the ground ball rate that he can get against a team like the Marlins, who they hit a ton of ground balls. Right now, of course, could they give up, home runs here and there, right? Could Sonny Gray give up a solo shot or two? Yes, that can certainly happen. But the Marlins don't walk enough or get on base enough where if there is a home run or two hit, I don't think they're going to be like bases loaded where it's going to absolutely kill me. And that's why I like Sonny Gray a little bit here. I know you talked up Blake Snell at home, JT. So why don't you talk about that a little bit? That was on the bang bang play. So talk up Blake Snell. Yeah,
well, first let me go back to your point because I think it's a good one, and I think it's one we should spend just a minute on. Is Robbie Ray is $200 more on DraftKings than Chris Sale. The ceilings here are wildly different, though. Chris Sale is going to be limited in some fashion. He got 89 pitches through 5 innings against the Orioles, right? I'm not worried about the Texas offense, okay? That's not a concern here. You did mention a solid point, which is they are striking out less. They're not seeing anybody like Chris Sale in the minor leagues, but still, let's say you take 1.5 strikeouts off the board for Sale because some of these guys are a little bit better at pitch recognition and contact, right? Some of these guys like a Yoel Pozo, who we made fun of on Sunday. G. Risen turns out he's one of the top prospects in all of baseball. And he's been playing well. So the difference here is in the ceiling, right? You see Sale, you recognize the name, 9-7, you recognize the opponent, and you got Robbie Ray sitting there at 200 more, where his ceiling is a complete game shutout. His ceiling is 8 innings pitched and 15 strikeouts. I mean, the difference is almost enough to make you say, why would you play Chris Sale, except that, for that 5% chance that Robbie Ray somehow has a bust. I don't think Robbie Ray is going to bust tonight. So that's why, for me, I prefer Ray much, much more to Chris Sale. Blake Snell at home over the course of the season, almost 13 strikeouts per inning. It's a 34% strikeout rate. The one bad game I mentioned earlier against Oakland Philly is not Oakland Philly since Rhys Hoskins went on the injured list, has just been terrible in great matchups. They had great matchups all this week in Arizona. I mean, they faced a guy named Humberto Castellanos that was supposed to be an opener for the Diamondbacks. He pitched so well, I think they let him pitch into the 6th inning. And I was watching parts of that game because I had a lot of JT Realmuto yesterday in the matchup against the left-handed Bumgarner, who can give up a lot of hard contact. He couldn't touch the ball. He was swinging 3 feet over the baseball. I'm not going to attribute that to Madison Bumgarner. I'm going to attribute that to this team is back to where they were earlier in the season, where they're just not seeing the ball well out of the hand of left-handers. And you go from a stadium in Arizona to Petco Park, it's not going to be, it's going to be a neutral environment because it's not going to be as cool as it normally is in San Diego. But with Snell coming off of, he had the big game at home against Arizona a few starts ago. He had the crapper against Oakland, then he was okay in Oakland. He was okay in Arizona. It's a decent spot. I think he's too cheap on DraftKings at $8K. You normally don't get him at that price. Remember, San Diego's dealing with a lot of different issues with their pitching staff as well. So this is a spot where Jace Tingler, just like perhaps Dave Roberts after 2 bullpen games in a row, where Jace Tingler might say, hey, if I can get a 7th inning out of Blake Snell, I'm going to take advantage of that tonight. And if he gets to that 7th inning, he's going to put up a score that on DraftKings you're going to almost have to have at that price point in order to get in some of these higher priced offenses.
All right, G Rising. The chat was all talking about John Lester yesterday, but let's go to a different guy. Let's go to Nestor Cortez. Let's talk about him because the chat's talking him up because they're following probably Big T's core plays because we know Big T loves Nestor Cortez. Now, I don't know if they're in his cores today, so if you want to check that out, use the code RPS NFL 15. Sign up. Get in on the 15% off monthly for life subscription. You get all the sports over here at Run Pure. So, G Rising, Nestor Cortez, though, talk to me about him. Are you interested in him? And what do you think about Blake Snell? Because he's another FanDuel guy that's kind of in the conversation like our boy Sonny Gray.
Yeah, I can't say at this point I'm really interested in Cortez at all. I'm not interested in going after the Twins here. I think there's too many other spots that seem to have more upside. I mean, I could see with the 7,300, like if you wanted to get, I guess if I was going to play Mikolas or Cortez, I mean, Cortez probably is actually a better play than Mikolas, I would say, but I don't know. I think it's tough. I'm not a fan of Minnesota. They either screw me when I play them as hitters or they screw me when I play against them. So it's like I'm damned if I do, if I damned if I don't. They're just generally a team I don't like to play against, especially in New York. I think it's pretty risky, like I was saying. Like everything down below, there's this extreme amount of risk of everything behind it. It could be a high upside or not. I just think it's pretty risky, and I think today I'm going to probably take some safer options up at pitcher, but I think Cortez is risky.
Well, what about Gomber? What were you going to say, JT?
I didn't mention Mikolas. Listen, Mikolas has been out dealing with arm injuries the better part of a season and a half now. He comes back. It's tempting because it's the Pirates, but again, we're talking about needing upside to win tournaments, and in my opinion, there's zero upside with Miles Mikolas. Even if he goes 5 innings, which I think is probably the ceiling there. I don't think that – I mean, they are trying to get back into the pennant race, but even in the minor leagues in his little rehab stint, he pitched to a 4 ERA. The Pirates are an annoying team. They don't really strike out all that much. And, Miles Mikolas doesn't strike out anybody as it is. So if you're playing DraftKings, and I would guess on FanDuel, this is a guy you want to cross out. I just don't see tournament winning upside in Miles Mikolas. As far as Cortez, great game last time out against the White Sox. And at 7-7, he's just not in my consideration here on DraftKings. I think that if I was going to pay that price, then I'm probably just going to go up to Snell in what is a much better matchup right now.
All right, G-Rise, touch upon Gomber, and then give me your pitcher rankings, right? I think we've gone through enough. If you do want some more pitcher takes from us, head into the Run Pure Sports Discord and check that out and ask us the questions there. But G-Rise, what are you doing with Gomber, and what are your final pitcher rankings?
I think Gomber is pretty much going to be as low as I'm going to go, 6,800. I think it's – I mean, you got to high his upside. I mean, he had a 55 points against Miami. He had 9 Ks through 6 innings. I mean, I don't mind Gomber at all. I just think people would stay off him just because they believe he's in Colorado. I think Arizona is a good matchup for him, actually. But that lineup, as I was saying, it did look pretty decent. It's like I'm hesitant on it. I think it's a decent play. I think, for me, when I'm building my teams, I'm going to have to think tonight, how many teams – if there's more than 3 or 4 teams that put up a 10 spot, you're going to have to probably pay down in pitching, I believe, unless one of those low price stacks really goes off. But it just seems like if there's the more teams that are going to score runs tonight, we keep seeing the 8s, the 9s, the 10s. Lately it seems like paying down for pitchers has been the way to go that has been winning tournaments. So really, if you like a lot of bats like I do, I'm almost thinking I have to pay down at pitcher, and that's why I think I'm going to spread out my pitching pool a little bit tonight. Hopefully I can catch that lightning in a bottle with one of these low-price guys, nail my stacks, and hit a tournament. I just think maybe possibly paying up for bats. I mean, you're going to have a low price stack go off for you. I just think there's too many runs up on the board tonight. Yankees are in a good spot. The Blue Jays are in a good spot. The Braves are in a great spot. There's just so many good spots tonight. You got a Coors Field game. I think Colorado is going to do well tonight. So, it's pitching's tough tonight. I'll be honest. I can't really say that I'm sold on anybody. I mean, to pay up, yes, I believe, but I really don't believe that build today. If I was playing in smaller type entry tournaments with maybe 100 people or less, I think maybe I'd be willing to pay up for pitching. But in a larger field tournament, I think you're really going to have to take a shot today at a pitcher, and hopefully you hit them and hit the right stacks. I really think you're going to need bats tonight.
All right, JT Hayes, give us your pitcher rankings. But before you do that, the chat, they're absolutely crushing it, right? They're hitting those likes. They got 143, but our boy Stephen Coy is in the chat. He says, howdy, RPS fan. Now, he posted it 3 times. I think it was an internet issue. Our guy, Steven, he spreads all the love to the RPS fam, JT. There's no way he was spamming on purpose, right? It had to be an internet issue. That's not like Steven.
No, it's probably on our side, to be honest, Travis. So first of all, let me, on behalf of the RPS fam, apologize to Stephen Coy for even the appearance that it was you. It's not. It was us, clearly. Thank you for being a loyal member.
There you go. Now give loyal member Stephen Coy, give him the pitcher rankings, JT. Where are you at here on this slate?
Yeah, I think for me, as the day has evolved, I've changed a little bit. I think just due to price sensitivity and roster construction, it's going to be Robbie Ray number 1. And I'm going to be looking to pay a little bit lower at my starting pitcher 2 on DraftKings, and definitely going to have a lot of interest in Blake Snell. I'm on the fence. I'm with you on Sonny Gray. He's looked terrible. This is usually the time when you want to play these guys. But like I said, this Marlins team does have some talent. They are continuing to play hard for Don Mattingly. They did it last night. They only put up, I think it was only 1 or 2 runs against Castillo in that bullpen. So it's still a low ISO, still a low run creation team. So I think Sonny Gray is in the mix there at 8,400. Him, Snell. I'll be honest. With the 14-game slate, with what we know about Chris Sale being capped at some unknown limit, I am probably not going to risk it with him. I'm probably just going to, where I would play Sale, I'm just going to go with Robbie Ray.
All right. We got Mal in the chat looking for a code. Use that code RPSNFL15. Use that now. And then we got one more thing in the chat before we move on from pitcher. We got Max Fried. We didn't talk about him too much, JT. Talk about Max Fried, and then we'll move on.
Just a no for me here. I think Baltimore returning home, a great park upgrade. And Fried has been fine, but at 8.6, I just don't see the upside there. This Atlanta bullpen, they made some additions. They have been a little bit better, and Snicker hasn't been scared to go to that bullpen early in games. Honestly, if you want to look at some cheap one-offs or a cheap stack to complement some of these higher price stacks, I honestly don't mind some of the Baltimore bats from the right side against Max Fried. He's, like I said, he's been good, but I don't love this price point for him. And I think, obviously they didn't do well against McClanahan. Yesterday, McClanahan, power pitching left-hander, and Fried, although he can get it into the mid-90s, he usually relies more on the off-speed and the change-ups as his game plan. So no Fried for me.
All right, so that's it. Let's go on to the bats. We're going to go game by game with the bats. So we'll talk about our stacks, right? That's got the good mojo going. That's what's had, Hoop won all that 100K the other day and absolutely crushed it. So let's keep the heater going. One of us will be shipping tonight. Let's talk about the Yankees. Let's talk about the Twins. G. Risen, you talked earlier about being on some Yankees possibly over on FanDuel. What are you doing here with this Yankees-Twins game?
Yeah, I really like the Yankees. Charlie Barnes isn't anything but, it's pretty much going to be a bullpen game for them. So, Aaron Judge, Gallo, Stanton, Voit, Odor. I think, you can really play them all up and down. You can even throw in Brett Gardner if you want the lefty on lefty, because I just don't think that Barnes is going to make it too long. So the Yankees for me in the stadium, 81 degrees. I just think their projected run total is upwards near 6. I think there's actually 4 teams that are in that range. Actually, almost 5. You want to throw in Toronto, but Yankees are definitely one of the top stacks on the slate for me. So I'm definitely going to have some Yankees for sure. And leading with Judge. I think Judge is the guy you got to have in your stacks.
Yeah, and before I go and talk about the Yankees and Twins with JT, JT, did you catch our boy Gary's appearance yesterday? He was live. He was on the screen. Did you catch that? And what did you think of Gary's first appearance?
Well, I always think Gary is great. Gary's a pro. I got to guest host a podcast for DC a couple of months ago. Gary was kind enough to jump on, and he had his notes. He had his stuff together. He knew exactly what he wanted to talk about. What was most disappointing about that yesterday is the oxygen thieves who were on with Gary and didn't let him speak. I mean, Holden just kept talking and talking and talking. It was very hurtful. And I think, Sweet Travis, I mean, you're the guy who schedules these, right? I think you need to get to that. Yeah, I think it's you. Don't pass it on. Don't pass the buck. Don't pass the buck. We've seen enough of that today. There was a press conference in Washington. It was disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. But you schedule. I think you need to get Gary a makeup session where he can get some words in. He can talk a little bit about his takes. It was hurtful yesterday, but he did a great job as always.
Yep, Gary did a great job as always. So just wanted to talk about that, but talk about the Yankees now, right? I think Gary talked about the Yankees a little yesterday. I know he was on the Dodgers, I think the most, but we'll definitely talk at the Dodgers at the end of the show. Talk to me about the Yankees, JT. How are you handling them on this slate?
Yeah, the Yankees come in third for me. They're in a great spot. They take on Charlie Barnes and the Minnesota bullpen. Barnes with a really good performance last time out against, I think it was the Indians. I know a bunch of people stacked against him, and he pitched really, really well. But above them for me are the Colorado Rockies and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rockies taking on Tyler Gilbert. Gilbert coming off of one of the most phenomenal performances in Major League Baseball history. A complete game, obviously, no-hitter, 9 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts in his first Major League start at home against the San Diego Padres. Threw 102 pitches. His 3 starts prior to that, he threw 19, and 32 pitches. So it's not going to go well this time around for Tyler Gilbert. And then you'll get into the Arizona bullpen after him. They have a 5.14 xFIP over the last couple of weeks. And Colorado did not travel home to Coors Field. They stayed home. So they're all accustomed. They're well acclimated by now to the altitude, and I think they're going to smash tonight. After that, Toronto Blue Jays coming off a very disappointing.
JT, we're going in order game by game. You're pulling the Holden on.
I thought you wanted me to talk about stacks.
No. So this is what we're doing. You're either pulling a title and you're talking about Coors early, or you're pulling the Holden and not listening. So this is what we do, JT. I
thought you were talking about bats. You want me to talk about the Yankees? I'll start with the Yankees.
Yeah, so if you get to a game, right? Like here's a game that we probably won't talk about, right? Let me find one. What's a game that really has like some like Angels and Indians? Like those are some pretty terrible pitchers there. But if we get to a game that we don't like the bats, JT, just say you don't like the bats. Okay, that's what we're doing. So talk about the Yankees and Twins, or if you don't like them, JT, just don't talk about it.
Well, I thought you were talking about stacks. I mean, it sounded like you were talking about stacks. It's actually, you know what? That's fine. No problem. So the Yankees, great spot against Charlie Barnes, like I just said. I have a couple of teams ranked a little higher than them, but we'll talk about them later because I don't want to upset Travis's, his mojo, the way he looks at how.
I mean, if it organically happens, right? If you're like, hey, listen, I like Gallo, maybe I pivot to Gallo off of, I don't know, Adam Duvall, right? Even if it organically happens, right? You can talk about it.
If you would let me finish, I'd finish.
Right, go ahead, JT. My apologies.
The other thing about the Yankees is they are priced fairly well here. They're actually a little bit too cheap. And, you saw Stanton hit that home run last night. Stanton is one of these streaky hitters. He gets a lefty on the mound tonight. So my favorite play in this lineup is Giancarlo Stanton. And there's a ton of value here up and down the lineup. You got LeMahieu in the mid-4s on DK. And I think it's a really good spot.
All right. I do like Gary Sanchez a little bit, especially on FanDuel. I think it's a good way to make that stack different. That'll be it, though, for that one. We don't have to talk too much about it. JT, I'll go over to you here. Talk to me about the Braves and the Orioles, because I know this is a stack that you are interested in. You talked about, hey, you might want to play some Orioles. So the floor is yours to talk about all the bats. You got like 18 of them. So go for it, JT. Who do you want?
Yeah, that's so exciting. So Ryan Mountcastle is back off of the IL. And I don't mind him a bit as a lower price pivot, although I think he on DraftKings now is only eligible at first base. So that's a little bit of a disappointment there. The Braves, look, they're probably on paper, when you look at the pitchers and match them up against the opposing team, this is the best spot, right? Keegan Aiken is simply not ready for the major leagues. He's proven that this year. You've got a bullpen behind him, a team that's trying to lose. The problem is, and G. Risen was talking about it a little bit earlier in terms of, hey, the best pitchers are higher priced tonight. The best offenses are higher priced tonight. The Braves are ridiculously priced. I'm not saying they're overpriced because they've been pounding the baseball. They pounded the Marlins. They've been hitting well since the trade deadline, the acquisition of Adam Duvall and Jorge Soler, how hot Dansby Swanson has been. The question is, what do you need out of these Braves to make them worth their prices when you've got 4 or 5 guys out of this lineup that are 5'5" and above, right? And can a team like the Jays or the Yankees or the Rockies meet that output for a lower point per dollar cost? I think the answer is yes. So I think the way I'm going to treat the Braves tonight is limit them to 2-man, 3-man stacks, just in order so that I don't have to go all the way down to the risky pitching, and I can pair them up with stacks that I think have good equity as well. So it's easily the best spot on the board. The question is, can you afford them? And if you can, what are you sacrificing a pitcher, and will they meet their output? Because at those prices, if you want a 5-man stack, they have to score 15 runs. They have to hit 7 home runs. That's not going to happen every single night. So I'm going to handle them as a 2-3-man stack in most of my lineups.
What about the Orioles? You like some of them there. Who are like the one-offs, right? 'Cause I doubt you're doing a 5-man Orioles stack today, but if you were doing some one-offs for our boy Pensac, because he loves to play those Orioles, who would you be playing?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. One contrarian one-off is the guy in the leadoff spot, Cedric Mullins. I mean, he did it the other day. I think he had a leadoff home run off of one of the left-handed pitchers for Tampa Bay. So don't mind Cedric Mullins at all. He's not as low-priced as you'd like to. So if you're going to stack up one of these other teams that I talked about, you probably can't get to him. But Santander at 2.8, Santander has actually started to hit the ball a little bit better lately. I've got to update here and see if there's a lineup in. But I think that Santander is definitely a guy I would look at. And then, yeah, Mountcastle at 3.4, but you gotta play him at first base. Ramon Urias in the 6 hole, second base, third base eligible at 2.9. And I mean, Michael Franco, I probably wouldn't have a lot of exposure to him, but if you needed to punt at third base for 2.5, I think he's okay.
All right, we'll go over to UG Rising. We got people in chat saying that you're on cloud 9. And I also thought JT's burner account was in the chat when they said, man, go relax, JT, go. But then I got Millie saying, hey, it's 2024. We got AP chiming in with the same comment. And then Caesar saying, man, go let JT do his thing. So I don't know what to do anymore, G Rising. I'm just going to throw it over to you. Talk about the Braves today.
Yeah, the Braves are definitely interesting. I mean, last week we were all on the Rays and everybody was saying how many runs the Rays were scoring. I think it had more to do with how bad Baltimore is. Baltimore is god awful. They've given up 115 runs in the last 13 games. I mean, it's just unprecedented type numbers in baseball. It's just terrible. They're awful. So I don't know how you could even think about veering from that. I think Atlanta is obviously the top stack, but as you said, if you want high-end pitching, Atlanta is going to be really tough to get in there today. But even when you look over at the last 7 days, top hitters, I mean, you got Swanson, Freeman, you got Albies, you got Riley. They're all in the top basically 12 of baseball in the last week in hitting as well. So now you're going to run them into Baltimore. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. I think they easily could score double-digit runs. Matter of fact, I do like the Atlanta team total as well. I'm going to get on there while we're on here and bet on that while I'm thinking about it, because they just can't make that number high enough, in my opinion. So Freddie Freeman's going to be a guy that I really going to look at tonight. I do like Atlanta. I just against Baltimore, especially Keegan Aiken, it's not like we have John Means or anybody else going. We really have one of their worst pitchers going tonight. I just don't see how you can't stack Atlanta. I just don't see how they don't score 10-plus runs tonight.
Agreed. Love Atlanta. Love Soler, Freeman, Riley. I really like Duvall towards the bottom, right? There's so many great options there. Love Atlanta today. Let's move on. We'll go and talk about the next game. We got the Tigers and the Blue Jays. JT, I'll go over to you because I cut you off during your Blue Jays rant. The people want to hear it. So I'm going to shut up now. Talk about the Blue Jays.
I see. The chat is on my side for once. I mean, this is heartwarming. I mean, if I was a normal human with regular emotion, I would almost be crying, but obviously I'm not.
Touched.
So
you look.
Yeah,
touched.
no, I am. I'm touched. Even Millie, who likes to tear me to shreds on the regular here. She's just a regular watcher, and now she's actually full of support. So it's good to see. No Detroit bats for me. As I said, Robbie Ray, I think is going to be my top guy tonight. Points per dollar, the way that the construction works on DraftKings. And then look, the Blue Jays just got swept in Washington. And now they come home to Skydome. They go back. They're finally in Toronto. And they get Tyler Alexander and a Detroit bullpen that gave up 13 runs to the Angels yesterday. The Tigers' two best relievers, if you can call them that, Kyle Funkhauser and Michael Fulmer, pitched in that game yesterday, trying to stem the bleeding that the Angels kept putting on them. And I just think that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to demolish this pitching staff and the bullpen today. I think they're going to take out their frustrations from the week in Washington here at home. And they're actually about as low a price point on DraftKings as we've ever seen. Something else, and I mentioned it in the video today, the Tigers have had issues at the catcher position. Looks like Grayson Greiner is going to be the guy who's in there tonight. But they had to go out and acquire Dustin Garneau. And we've seen teams have been running on this Detroit Tigers team. And you got a guy like Bo Bichette who can steal second and third. Semien doesn't steal as many bases, but he certainly can. You've got speed up and down this lineup. Teoscar Hernandez. And Lourdes Gurriel has been one of my favorite players, not so much this season. He's had injury issues, but in the past 2 seasons to play against left-handed pitching. He, same as his brother Yuli on the Astros, just demolishes them. You've got Alejandro Kirk as a punt catcher at 3-1. Espinal at third base at 2-6. So you can get the top guys in this stack, pair them with 2 of those lower price guys, either Gurriel and Kirk or Gurriel and Espinal. Espinal can do damage as well. I think this is a fantastic spot, a fantastic stack tonight. Toronto Blue Jays, they top my list.
I love Grichuk. I think the call on Gurriel is pretty good. We'll go over to you, G. Rising. Let's talk about the Tigers because you love to talk about the Tigers. It's today the day Miggy gets that home run finally against the lefty Robbie Ray, G. Rising.
You know, he'll probably hit it on the road. I think they just did. I don't think he wanted to hit it. He had his family all around. It was a good party for like 5-6 games. They were cheering him every time he came up. The stadium's packed. If he hits that homer the first day, they don't have but 5,000 people in that place. But anyway, yeah, the thing that really does scare me with Ray is the Tigers generally they've been taking a lot of professional at-bats lately. I really like how their approach has been since Hinch has been the manager. I just think with Ray, I think Ray does have a lot of upside. Don't get me wrong. He definitely could strike out 15 of these guys. But then again, you know, he's another guy that could get blown up. The Tigers could get to him. I'm not saying they would. That's why I don't have Ray as high as JT or a couple of the other guys, but can't argue with you guys on the Blue Jays bats. The Blue Jays bats are an incredible spot. The only thing that you can argue is to say there's a humidor in Toronto. Other than that, I mean, it's just a smash spot. And I do think if I was to stack Toronto, I'd be sure to include the catcher Kirk in there. He's 2,000. I think he's a great salary saver, especially on FanDuel. He's a guy that I think you should probably get in your stack. I'm not sure if too many people will play him there, but I think he's a guy that definitely could hit a bomb for you.
Yeah, I got one thing I have to address, and I hate to do it. I learned my lesson, right? I gave props to Millie, and what does Millie do immediately? She comes for the throat, says that the Tigers have won 4 of the last 6 against the Jays in Rogers Center. Now, maybe Millie doesn't know that the last time a fucking game was played in Rogers Center was 2019. Maybe she doesn't know that. I mean, they haven't been playing in Rogers Center for 2 years. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, definitely not one of the best takes of the day in the chat. But JT, this is the time where we now go and talk about the Reds. We talk about the Marlins, and this is a game that I'm going to say I got nothing to say about hitting wise. This is where you can just say, hey, pass. JT, is it a pass or is it a play?
Yeah, it's pretty much a pass. I'm not really interested in Reds bats here against Eliezer Hernandez. He's going to be limited, so I'm not interested in him. And I think there's just so many better spots than the Marlins here.
Yeah, JT, as I think they said on an MTV show back in the day, smash or pass, right? Are you smashing the Reds or are you passing on them today? What are you doing here with this game?
I'm going to pass. I think G. Risen, he wants to know what you're going to do.
Yeah,
I meant G. Risen. My bad.
Yeah, he said you. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I meant JT. Sorry.
You know what, though? The only thing I'd say is if I was MMEing 150 teams, I probably would have a couple Marlins teams just because of the blow-up rate of Sonny Gray recently. I think that isn't a bad play. I think it's going to be really low owned. If you're going to go that deep, have that many teams, maybe throw in a couple Marlins stacks. It just seems like the Marlins are always, quietly putting up runs, and I think that it's a decent spot there if you want to get some leverage against what could be a popular pitcher in Gray.
All right, before I go to JT for the next thing, there's a couple of comments in chat I'm going to address. But before, I got to talk about the code RUNPURE for Underdog Fantasy. When you're doing those best ball drafts, free $25 deposit bonus. You don't even have to be a Run Pure Sports subscriber to be able to get this. So get in those best ball drafts. And I saw Big T join the best ball streets today. That is right. The Colorado air is getting to him where he has joined the best ball drafts. So get in on that. JT, we got to address the chat a little bit, though, right? We got Millie taking the L saying, I got worked. And then we got Matt Smith. Matt Smith, who's been in the chat for a while now today, says, I hit the like button now. I mean, first of all, address Matt Smith, JT, and, give Millie some props for taking the L there.
So, yeah, that was very mature by Millie. She's still trying, though. She still says she doesn't like the Jays. Vlad is in a power outage. So here's the thing with DFS, right? You want to be on these teams when they explode, right? And in order to be there, in order to get there, you have to take that chance when they haven't been so good. This is why I love this spot. They just got swept. They come home. They get a day off. And now they're going to go do work. Anyway, Matt Smith, I mean, we're here on a Friday night. You're here on a Friday night. Obviously, you're enjoying this. You're enjoying the show. And you're subscribing to the YouTube network. It's crazy to not like what we are giving you for free, because if you don't show a little bit of gratitude, right, it might just go away one day, right? I mean, that's what happens. You don't click the like button, it just goes away. Tell him, Sweet Travis.
Yep, and even Butto Jenkins saying, does JT play DFS? We all play DFS here. We're all in all the contests. You can find us. So if you like, if you want to sweat with me, right? I'm always in the chat sweating with the people, right? If you want to sweat my links, right, I'll post it and we can sweat it together with the RPS family, JT, as they say. So let's move on. Nothing else to really say about the Reds. Another game where, again, is it a smash or pass, JT? Is it the White Sox? Is it the Rays? I don't think I want either. I think it's a easy pass here.
Yeah, nothing to love in this game. That's about it. That's all I can say. Pass.
Yep. See, G. Risen, are you passing on this game? The Rays have been hot. I think we just pass and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I'd say pass. Waka's a little weak. I mean, I couldn't argue with if you were deep and wanted a White Sox stack, but yeah, with the limited lineups I'm going to play today, I'm not interested in it.
All right, JT, I know you're not interested in the Rangers. What about the Red Sox, right? We'll go to that game real quick. Red Sox have a pretty high implied total, but Dane Dunning hasn't been bad. What are you doing here with this game?
It's just not my favorite spot. I think some Red Sox one-offs are fine, obviously, here. Dunning much better at home. Hasn't been as good on the road. We saw yesterday Rangers bullpen also giving up a ton of runs, even in their home ballpark. It's just at these price points, I just don't think that they're in better spots than some of the teams that I already talked about. So I think Schwarber is interesting. At some point, he's going to get it going. He's hitting cleanup at 4.3. But again, like G. Risen said, right, you're going to play some of these higher-priced offenses. You probably don't have room for a 4K one-off on DraftKings. So they're priced a little bit more difficultly to get even a one-off or a mini stack in there.
Yeah, we're going to need those big platoon core plays, right? So we'll have to see if he gives out those today. G. Risen, you said you're going to maybe keep your hitting core a little tighter. So does it involve the Red Sox today?
No, I do not have the Red Sox in my core today. Dunning's just not a guy. I don't think he's the greatest pitcher. It just does. You look at his game logs. He just generally doesn't get beat up. He doesn't really strike out anybody. I just think there's way there's just too many good spots here today for me to play the Red Sox today against Dunning. I'm not a fan of stacking against them.
All right, you guys, when we talked about that Tigers game, that has a 9.5 implied total. And then this one has a 9.5 implied total. It's the Indians and the Angels. So any interest in them, there's two pitchers that are not that great, but it's not really a game that I'm dying to play. So are they going to be hitters that you're going to get some exposure to today, G Rising?
No, I mean, on a 14-game slate, it's like we were saying, there's just so many spots. I just really up and down. Neither one of these teams to me really has that good of a lineup up and down from 1 to 9. So I just think there's a lot better spots that we can go after today. Maybe if I was look for a one-off, maybe I could look at somebody like I always like to play somebody like Fran Mill. Jared Walsh wouldn't be a bad play. Of course, you're not going to probably be able to afford Ohtani today as a one-off, especially if you're going to pay up for some pitching. But I just not a fan of stacking either one of these teams, to be honest with you. I don't think either one are really that have that much upside.
Yep. JT, I played the Angels yesterday. It was a good time. Do you think it's a good time for me to play them here again, or should I play some Indians on the other side?
Yeah, we were actually talking about this in Discord earlier today because a couple of guys liked the price points on these Angels. And I said, well, what do you expect from them? They scored 13 runs yesterday. Is this the type of team that you would expect to do that again? Right? And no, I don't think it is. And Upton is apparently not in this lineup. And I was going to say him and maybe Jared Walsh were two guys just because of their price points that I would think about as one-offs. Walsh because he's too cheap for his talent, and he's facing Hentges, but Hentges is only going to be around for 2 or 3 innings. But maybe Brad Zimmer as a one-off hitting 5th at 2.4. I think that's not a bad price point for a guy that's been hitting the ball pretty well. Other than that, just not a lot of interest in this game for me.
All right, let's move on over to the next one. And Tyrone Taylor is in the leadoff spot. Steve Anthony, he is a homer and talking about the Brewers, but I get it because I like the Brewers today too. They got a nice little lineup today. Patrick Corbin, he gives up bombs. Chicks love him. They dig the long ball, and there's going to be some long balls in, I swear. We got Avisel Garcia, Willie Adames, Tyrone Taylor. I love this team today. G Rising, you've been playing some Brewers, I believe, recently. What are you doing with them in this spot?
Yeah, I really like the Brewers. I think the Brewers are going to be in one of the teams that I'm going to go after and play today. I just think Corbin, like you said, he's just been giving up a lot of homers. He's given up 15 earned runs in his last 3 games. I just think the Brewers in too good of a spot here. Their lineup looks really good. I really like Avisel Garcia there in the 4-hole. And then, of course, you got Rowdy Tellez, who's been hitting pretty well, even though that's lefty. I like Willie Adames up at their short. And like you mentioned, you got a cheap Tyrone Taylor. So you literally could go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's really, you're going to get those bats for around $3K really per after you kind of do the math, maybe 31. So I really like that. You could even go to a guy like Manny Pena at the bottom. He's got home run power. I don't mind that at all. Definitely not interested in any of these Nats bats. I don't like that lineup. I'm not going to pay up for a guy like Soto, I guess Brett Anderson. But, yeah, definitely got some interest in some Brewers. And the reason being is I like their pricing. And I think I can build pretty nice teams here with some decent pitching and maybe throw in some higher-end stacks with these Brewers.
All right, JT, I'm going to head on over to you. Brewers, I love them today. They're in a really good spot. They kind of fit everything I want to do. What are you doing here with the Brewers?
Yeah, the Brewers would come in around 4th or 5th on my lineup of teams today. Definitely a decent spot. You never know which Corbin you're going to get. He hasn't been good over the course of the season, but he has had surprising decent starts, not DFS usable starts.
But JT, he gives up what Matt Smith said in the chat. He gives up home runs, right? 9 in the last 4 games. And we play DFS to get those home runs, right? And those go a long way sometimes. So that's the big thing with Corbin.
Yeah, I think on DraftKings, a guy like Tyrone Taylor at 3.3 in the leadoff spot, you know that generally he's not going to get pinch hit for. He makes some sense. A guy who was coming into a lot of optos that I was running before we got on here, actually on the Washington side, was Carter Kieboom. Carter Kieboom just 2.3K, and he's actually been hitting the ball the way that Washington expected him to a couple of seasons ago. So they get a soft matchup too against Brett Anderson. I don't have any interest in the pitchers, and I'll be I'll be underweight for sure. Probably won't have any exposure to the Nats except for Key Boom. And then I will have a little bit of Milwaukee because the home run upside, as you correctly point out, is there.
Yep, and you can make 2-man stacks, 3-mans. They definitely make for a good secondary stack as well, even one-offs, right? I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys hits 2 out for sure. But let's move on over to the next game. Let's talk about the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros. And the Astros, they're a team that I like to play at times, right? They don't have a massive total today. They're probably getting a bit overlooked, but they get Kikuchi, right? And Kikuchi's pretty decent, can limit the damage. G. Risen, what are you doing here with the Astros against Kikuchi?
Yeah, I don't like to generally stack against Kikuchi, so I'm not going to go there, especially on a 14-game slate. McCullers is interesting as far as the pitching. You know, if it's just you worry about his walks, he's just very frustrating to watch. You pretty much got to turn the game off, as I think we were mentioning before the show started. But yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere here for bats.
All right, JT, are you going to go there for bats? Any interest in this Astros lineup?
No, I'm going to pass on this game.
All right, easy. Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk Pirates and Cardinals, and I think this one's really easy. I know Mitch Keller is on the mound. JT, you've played the Cardinals in some interesting spots, and you even said to me yesterday you had some interest in those Brewers and Cardinals, and they kind of went off. So any interest in the Cardinals here against Keller?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a secondary stack, as a 2 or 3-man, you have guys here like Edman leading off and Tyler O'Neill, who's pretty cheap, hitting in the cleanup spot. And then a guy who homered last night who's actually been fairly hot of late. It's a guy that we don't know much about. He just came on the scene a little while ago. But one of the greatest names I've ever seen in Major League Baseball, Lars Nootbaar. Lars Nootbaar is 2.3K, and he makes a nice one-off for some of those higher-priced stacks tonight.
Yeah, a Lars Nootbaar sounds like a candy bar that G. Risen and Holden and even yourself ate while growing up, right? Your grandparents gave you a nice Lars Nootbaar. G. Risen, what are you doing with Lars Nootbaar and the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah, I can't say I'm going to roster any Cardinals or Pirates tonight, but I was laughing at Nootbaar. I don't know if you guys saw in the game, but the umpire yesterday literally rang him up like twice on strike 2. So it was kind of funny. The umpire looked like a jackass especially the second time when he tried to ring him up and then play it off. But yeah, so Nootbaar is not going to be on my team. But you know what? I think he should make the all-name team. We're going to have to build one of those, and he's going to have to be on it. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. He definitely makes the all-name team for sure. No interest, though, really, in this game. It's definitely a tough one to watch. I will not be watching this one tonight. One that I know people will be watching. They'll be watching the Diamondbacks. They'll be watching the Rockies. JT, you already went on a Coors rant. We'll let you go on another Coors rant. So grab a Coors and go on a nice little rant here about the Rockies and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, the Rockies always play much better at home. They just come off of a sweep of the San Diego Padres, believe it or not. And now they get the great Tyler Gilbert, who was absolutely phenomenal in his last start. Threw a no-hitter in his first Major League start, and I think the Rockies are going to bring Tyler and this team back to earth tonight. My favorite Rockies, Joe Rogers, Story, Crone. You could get Garrett Hampson batting 8th in there at just 3.3. And Elias Diaz actually has some pop for a catcher in the 7-hole. 4.6, a little bit expensive. You kind of need him to go yard, but he's certainly been doing plenty of that at home. So I like the Rockies a lot here. The Diamondbacks are cheap, but I don't know. It's interesting in that there's 2 ways to look at Austin Gomber. One is he was this flash in the pan, had a great first 2 months of the season, and now he's back to being what he was before. But you remember that he was kind of a highly touted prospect, and it's been interesting that he's been able to pitch well at home in Coors. His pitch mix works well there, and I think at 5'9", he'll make maybe 5% of my lineups. And I want to be clear, right? Because I think last week I talked about Drew Hutchinson. It was Sunday. And I said, hey, if I'm making 50 to 75 lineups, which I was, I would have 5% Drew Hutchinson. Someone went and put him in 75% of their lineups. Please don't do that. Austin Gomber, limit him to 5%. That's all.
All right, well, we got a chatter here, JT. It's Brian K says, feel like Connor Joe always hits a home run. Am I wrong? Well, he only has 7 on the season, so unless Connor Joe's only played 7 games. But I will say this, he did hit a home run on his birthday the other day, JT, and you would have known that, right? Because, JT, you were all about the Connor Joe birthday narrative, right? What do you do with Connor Joe and the Rockies stacks up? Do you jam him in, or do you get off of him to be different, JT?
Yeah, I think you're G Rising. What are you doing
with
that?
I want to go to you. You're a big tournament guy on DK, right? So he's 3.1K, Connor Joe. Would you get off of him? What would you do with him?
No, I like Connor Joe. Connor Joe at 3.4 leading off. I like Rogers' Story, CJ Crone, and Garrett Hampson.
Well, I'm just asking because it's like in tournaments, he's a guy that's going to be high owned, right? I mean, he's the chalk. That's all, JT. I mean, you're getting a little red over there. My apologies.
I'm enjoying this immensely. I love the Rockies here. I like Connor Joe. I think he has a great chance of getting the first hit against Tyler Gilbert in the major leagues. Think about it that way. Connor Joe is going to make history.
All right.
I really think he was trying to hold back from calling you Holden. That's what I think.
That's fine. Again, I asked because it's for tournaments.
So bad.
I want to know in tournaments if that's how you make the stack different. That was the only reason. I don't care if you likely think he's a good
by putting the leadoff hitter in course. Yes, I think that's fair to say. That will make your stack different.
All right. I'm just checking. No worries.
Sweet Travis must be getting Mikey must have come in naked or something. Something's going on. Is Chris Hansen at the door again? I mean, you're a little distracted here, buddy.
Again,
come on,
Chris Hansen at the
not
door.
Not at all. And again, I know you like him, but I'm just asking for tournaments. That's all. You can always make pivots. I pivot off guys I like all the time. So it just happens, and that's how you got to do it sometimes to try and make your stack a little different. G Rising, what are you doing with cores? I want to play Rockies today. I really do. They don't fit the mold for me, right? Like when I put my stack together, I haven't found anything that fits with them properly. Are you playing them? Because you're on FanDuel, so I'm curious. And we have some similar interests on some offenses. So how are you handling the Rockies here?
I do like the Rockies. I think the Rockies can keep up with Atlanta. I think they've just been smashing the ball at home lately. I'm not worried about Gilbert. I think Gilbert shot his load last game. But for me, Colorado is definitely a top play for me. I just – like I said at the beginning of the show, when I was building some lineups with some of these high-end bats, I mean, the pitching I gotta to go through after it's just too much of a crapshoot. So, but I do like Colorado. They are going to be in my pool of players, in my stacks. I just think, I do like. There's another game coming up here. I like a stack that I think is going to fit nicely with some of these high-end stacks. But Colorado is definitely going to be in my pool of teams.
Yeah, we'll see if they make your core plays. Again, use that code RPS NFL 15 to get 15% off. To check out the core plays today, they'll be getting up there soon, I'm sure. I don't think anyone's are up yet. Let me check real quick and see. Do we have any core plays up? Gary's up. Gary's normally in there soon. Today, who do we got? We got JT Hayes. We got G Rising. We got Big T. We got JSC. And we got AP and Draft Cheat. So no core plays up yet. I'm sure they'll be coming soon. Don't you worry. Again, use that code RPS NFL 15 to get 15% off your monthly lifetime payment. Let's move on over and talk about the next game. I see you guys are laughing. There's probably something in the chat you're laughing about. I'll check it in a second. Once we talk about the San Francisco Giants.
Izzy.
We'll talk about the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics. I'm going to go to JT first because he loves playing some Oakland Athletics. Are you playing them here today, JT Hayes?
I think what Izzy is really asking is, Travis, why did you bring Zima to a meeting with a 12-year-old? But anyway, so look, we can't play every team. I think that obviously, the Giants here have a ton of power. Oakland obviously has a ton of power. It's going to be 60 degrees. It's a huge ballpark. I think this is probably one of the worst spots on the slate for targeting offense outside of maybe a power one-off on either side here. Prefer maybe one of the right-handers on Oakland just because Alex Wood has really not been very good for most of the season. And if I was looking for one, it would be probably Yan Gomes maybe at 3-4 in the catcher spot here. But other than that, just not a ton of interest. I don't think this is a spot where you're going to see, a 10-run game. And I think that's what we're absolutely going to need on this slate.
All right, G Ryzen, will there be a 10-run game here? Will you be playing some Yan Gomes? What will you be doing here with this Oakland game?
Well, I actually have some interest in the Giants, actually. I think the Giants, with as many home runs are hitting as a team, I really like all the lefties here against Caprillion. I like Yaz, Dickerson, Belt, Crawford. I think that it's pretty low owned or low price stack that I can add to some of my higher price stacks. I really think they're in a good spot, over under 9. I know the weather isn't the best. I'm just was looking for a team I thought was basically in a good spot at a low owned price stack, which I think San Francisco fits that mold. I don't know if I spent more time trying to talk myself into it than I probably should have, but I like the lefties there in San Fran. I think you're going to get them pretty cheap, maybe even a mini stack 1-2 there with Yaz is interesting with Dickerson. But yeah, I do have some interest in some Giants tonight.
All right, JT, we had K Falik. He gave some of the subscribers some pain yesterday with the Nick Neidert call. Can we make sure G Ryzen doesn't put the Giants in his cores though today? Please convince him not to, JT.
I think it's first of all, I think it's highly unfair to compare pitching Nick Neidert on that slate to playing the Giants on this one. I think the Giants are a reasonable contrarian take, whereas I think Nick Neidert was just like, there weren't enough low-owned pitchers on the slate. And K. Falik short-circuited because he needs to play a low-owned pitcher. And so he said, well, Neidert's going to be 1% owned. No one's going to have him, and this is the way I'm going to get to the top, right? I think it's a much more reasonable take to say, I'm going to 3 or 4 man the Giants here and try to take advantage of the home run upside.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the next one. We got to get those likes up, though, right? The likes, well, they're at 216. They're doing pretty good, JT. I mean, 382 watching. Just tell them one more time to slam those likes for us.
Hey, listen, I think 382 watching and 215 is still not good enough, but you did get past the 185 threshold. I wonder what the other 165, 170 of you are doing, just lurking there. Obviously, you're subscribing. Give us a like so that when you tune in next time to shred us, that we have a show.
Yeah, and Brian K with a great comment. I'm all for revenge games, but not Tommy LaStella, which, that's totally fair.
LaStella hit a bomb the other night. I mean, he's finally healthy. You never know. 2.4K in the 2-hole. I don't mind it.
He has been crushing it. It's been absolutely brutal to watch. I will say.
It's tough.
All right, we'll go on over, talk about the Padres against Matt Moore, G Ryzen. I'm sure you're not playing the Phillies, but what are you doing with the Padres here on this slate, G Ryzen?
Yeah, I'm not going to play either team really here. I just not really sold on the Padres recently. Like you said, they just got whooped up in Arizona. They haven't been hitting the ball really well. Philly don't seem to be able to hit very well. I do like Snell a little bit more looking at this Philly lineup. I mean,
look at this fucking lineup.
It's awful, isn't it? Holy shit, that's awful.
Oh, man.
Jorge Bonifacio makes his triumphant return to the major league tonight.
I mean, Luke Williams. I mean, damn, this lineup's terrible. I think, and Snell really does seem to do way better at home. So, you know what? Now that I see that Philly lineup, I think I like Snell a little bit more than I did when the show started.
All right, JT, are you playing any Bonifacio one-offs today? What are you doing here with this game?
Bonifacio, named after the 17th century Pope. No, I won't have any Phillies tonight. This probably honestly shoots Blake Snell's ownership up a little bit. Look at the bottom of this lineup. Alec Boehm, who honestly has played like a double-A player the entire time he's been in the major leagues. Jorge Bonifacio, Ronald Torres, Lucas Williams, and then the pitcher. And you've got a lefty, Harper, who hasn't hit lefties this year so far. Real Muto looks like he's lost. Man. No. And the Padres, this is a spot where ordinarily if it was any other pitcher than Matt Moore, I would be looking to target with the Padres coming out of altitude, especially just coming off getting swept there. They just, between injuries and the way that their offense is not performing, I don't know, maybe it's hard to play a one-off that's priced like Tatis, but that will make him lower owned on this slate. But I don't love this spot. It's like I said, you get down to that ballpark after coming out of altitude, and Blake Snell is probably the guy that I would play in this game.
All right, let's go on over. We got one more game, and then we'll give out our stocks. We'll give out our plays of the day, and then we'll head on over to the premium show. We got the Mets and the Dodgers. Dodgers, they've been hitting it well, and they get Carlos Carrasco. G. Risen, what are you doing here with this game?
Yeah, I like some Dodgers. Hard not to like the Dodgers, especially the way they've been hitting lately. Carrasco's given up 10 earned runs his last 3 innings. Now you're going to go against the Dodgers. Good luck, buddy. I think he needs to go back into retirement or just hang it up. I mean, it's just been awful for him. He's given up 10 hits. He hasn't even really been walking anybody, so they've just been smashing the shit out of him lately. So, the Dodgers lineup's not out yet. You just got to be sure you avoid those couple pinch hit risks if like a Beatty or somebody's in there. But yeah, up and down that lineup, obviously my favorite guy to play is Trey Turner. I probably have him. I like Muncy, Seager, Taylor, Turner. I mean, up and down the lineup, that lineup is from top to bottom, probably is the best in baseball, in my opinion. So, kind of hard not to want to play him, especially against the Mets team, as JT said, is just in disarray. They can't do anything right. And they're running out guys like Carrasco. That bullpen's terrible. So recipe for runs for the Dodgers, if you ask me.
All right, JT Hayes, Friday night, I don't know if you're cooking up some runs for the Dodgers, but will you be cooking up some runs for them? Are we interested in the Dodgers tonight?
Yeah, I think you have to believe that they're on a 14-game slate. They're going to come in low and they get a good matchup against Carrasco, who's been terrible. It's been just as dreadful as Frankie Lindor has. Another great Mets trade. But one thing, and I will say this because the last couple of times I played the Dodgers, which are last night I played them. Luckily, the lineup had come out early enough. But the last 2 nights before that, lineup came out, and one night Trey Turner wasn't in it. One night Justin Turner wasn't in it. So if you play them, be sure to be keeping tabs because Roberts is switching it up. He's got a little bit too many toys right now, and every night there's something different in this lineup. And I will have some Dodgers tonight just because they're one of the teams that when they get going, they can absolutely break open a slate. And on a slate this big, with the lineup probably not out yet, by the time lock comes, I think they're going to be much lower on than they should be in this matchup.
All right, G. Risen, give me your stacks. What are we doing here on this slate? Give me top 3, 4, 5, whatever you want. Hit me with it.
So the top one for me is the Braves, just because Baltimore is just so bad. Baltimore is just unbelievably bad. I mean, if you look at them with their earned runs given up in the last 2 weeks, they got 115, and the fourth place team has given up 70. So I mean, it's just a huge number that they've been giving up. I just don't know how you can't play a team like the Braves. I really like the Braves, and then I'm gonna have to say number 2 for me would probably be the Rockies. I do like the Rockies. Number 3 for me would probably be, I'm going to say Brewers, and then I'm going to go Blue Jays and then Giants. So around the 3, I think I'm only going to play 3 teams though today. I don't think I'm going to go further than 3. I think I'm just going to play the Rockies, the Braves, and the Brewers, and then I'm going to maybe mix in a mini stack or 2 of some Giants, and then I'm going to mix up my pitching just because I'm not a fan of the pitching today at all.
All right, we got for my stacks, we got the Braves 1, Brewers 2, Rockies 3, Jays 4, Yankees 5. That's where I'll put my 5 stacks. And JT, we're gonna get to the plays of the day here in a second, but I just want to let you know we got to hit that like button. You know why? Uncle T's play just got the text on the phone. Uncle T's play is in. It's here. So he's going to give his play of the day as well. So Mustache Ride play of the day is on the phone, ready to open it up. JT, give us your stacks, and then we'll move on to the plays.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love Uncle T. I can't wait to see what his play is. And it's honest, it's distracted me. I'm so excited. But I'm going to go with the Rockies 1, the Jays 2, the Yankees 3. And then 4 and 5, for me, it's going to be – the Braves are going to be in that 5 spot just because of price. Like I said, I'm going to attack them more of a 2-3 man on DraftKings to try and stay away from the lower tier of pitching. And then, yeah, I'll go with the Cardinals as a dark horse stack at 4.
All right. I don't know if you just heard my alarm go off. JT, I'll just say this. The Wayne Gretzky NFTs are dropping soon, so you got to get in. I know one of our Run Pure chatters, right? He just got in one, and he sold his for $4,500. So you got to get in on these NFT Wayne Gretzky drops. G Rising, you got to be a big Gretzky guy, right? You must have loved him back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I got some Gretzky rookie cards. I haven't been into the NFT thing, but today I will say I did go on Topps website, and Topps Chrome 2021 came out and was dropped today. So as of about an hour ago, I was able to get on Topps website and make a purchase, which as those know that collect, it's been very difficult to do such a thing recently. I thought I was lucky, so I don't know if they're still up there, but yeah, that was a $400 or $500 little stop at the top site. But yeah, good times. But yeah, Gretzky, I can't blame it. Gretzky's one of the all-time greatest hockey players. I saw some other guys getting on it. I just
getting the free lotto flip. You're just flipping it quick, G Rising. It's not that hard.
For me, I don't like doing that. I like holding them. I like keeping my stuff. I don't know. I still got a lot. I've been trying to sell some things here recently, and it's just it's just not as fun.
2 clicks of a button, you can make a quick buck. That's all I'm saying. But let's make a quick buck for the people. Let's make a quick buck for the people, G Rising. Give me the play of the day. Who do you got?
So my play of the day is going to come from the Giants, and I'm going to have Mike Yastrzemski as my play of the day, leading off against Caprillion. I just think the Giants are a stack that I think I'm going to probably sprinkle in some mini stacks here. So Giants for me, and I'm going to say Yaz. I think he's going to be low owned, and I like it.
All right, the Giants, we got him. Yaz, what are you doing here, JT? What's your play of the day?
Yeah, so I talked about the matchup for Toronto, and in the 5-hole for just 3.3K, he's now first base eligible, which if you wanted to make your Toronto stacks a little bit different, you play Lourdes Gurriel at first base instead of Vlad, although I think Vlad has a great game, and I'm going to have him a ton as well. Lourdes Gurriel tonight. Remember, a lot of these Jays can steal bases as well.
All right, Lourdes Gurriel is your play. G Rising, before I go to Uncle T's play, do you have a guess of what offense his play is from? I mean, you know your boy Uncle T well. You do the old guys pod with him. Do you have any guesses there, G Rising?
Yeah, I do. I think Uncle T's play of the day is probably from Milwaukee, and if I was to narrow it down, I'm going to say his play of the day is either Taylor or Garcia.
You are wrong. It's okay. The play of the day from Uncle T, he went to the Yankees and he went to Luke Voigt's season, he said. So he is riding high with those Yankees. That is his play of the day. I'm going to give you my play of the day. I'm going over to those Braves. I'm going towards the bottom of the lineup. I'm going to a guy that smashes those lefties. I'm going to Mr. Adam Duvall. That will be my play of the day. But we got to get moving. I got to update the cash chart, JT. I know you are urgently waiting for the cash chart to be updated. We got to get the cores up. JT, give me the final thoughts before we get on out of here.
Yeah, I'll be putting up a slate strategy here in just a couple of minutes, but I do think that pitching, you want to stay maybe one in the higher range and one in the mid range, and then you want to focus on those stacks that have true upside, the ones that have a chance to get you 10 plus runs tonight. Those are the ones that we highlighted here on this show.
All right. Well, we will catch you guys later. Check out the final countdown coming up next for me, Mangone, JT, and G Rising. See you guys later.